150-162, 150-163, 150-164, and resolution number 150-179. Ms. Lewis, please read the titles of the bills and resolution.
Bill number 150162, an ordinance to adopt a capital program for the 6 fiscal years 2016 through 2021 inclusive. Bill number 150163, an ordinance to adopt the fiscal 2016 capital budget. Bill number 150164, an ordinance adopting the operating budget for fiscal year 2016. And resolution number 150179, providing for the approval by the Council of the City of Philadelphia of a revised 5-year financial plan for the City of Philadelphia covering fiscal years 2016 through 2020 and incorporating proposed changes with respect to fiscal year 2015, which is to be submitted by the Mayor to the Pennsylvania Intergovernmental Cooperation Authority, the Authority, pursuant to the Intergovernmental Cooperation Agreement authorized by an ordinance of this Council, approved by the Mayor on January 3rd, 1992, Bill number 1563-A, by and between the City and the Authority.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis. Today we continue the public hearing on the Committee of the Whole to consider various bills read by the clerk that constitute proposed operating and capital spending measures for fiscal 2016, a capital program, and a forward-looking capital plan for fiscal 2016 through fiscal 2021. Today we will hear testimony from the following city departments and others: the Community College of the City of Philadelphia, and Procurement, Human Resources and Personnel, and Fleet Management. First up, we will have Community College. Morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Council President Clark, Council members. My name is Matt Burkeiser, and I'm Chairman of the Community College of Philadelphia Board of Trustees. I'm also Executive Director of University City District, which is a neighborhood improvement organization. I'll be very brief, but I'm grateful for this opportunity to speak with you today. I'd just like to share two truly extraordinary stories of student success that are representative of the thousands of stories of opportunity and advancement at Community College of Philadelphia. 1 month ago, Aminata C., a mother of 3 who first enrolled in a developmental English class at the college, was accepted to the University of Pennsylvania. A member of the class of 2015, Aminata carries a 4.0 GPA. At Penn, she will find a number of familiar faces as 235 students of the college transferred to Penn between 2005 and 2013. Another student, Shorn Jordan, will graduate in May with 2 associate's degrees. In and of itself, that's a wonderful achievement, but it's made remarkable by the fact that Sean, until recently, was homeless, and he spent the last several months of classes sleeping on couches at friends' apartments. Despite the obstacles in his life, he never lost sight of the importance of education or his goal. These are the kinds of inspirations we gain every day from our student body, and I also gain inspiration from our faculty, staff, and our president. It's been my honor to work over the past year with Dr. Guy Generals. He's emphasized the value of shared learning among faculty, staff, and students as he's worked to increase student persistence and credential completion rates. And I'd like to note finally that my colleagues and I on the Board of Trustees are government, civic, and business leaders who represent a cross-section of Philadelphia. While Greater Philadelphia is home to more than 100 colleges and universities, Community College of Philadelphia is unique in that it is open access, it's fully public, and it's an unrivaled launching pad into careers and credentials for those who otherwise likely would not have had access to the benefits of higher education. Every day we're identifying, cultivating, and advancing talented citizens from every single neighborhood in Philadelphia. The Board of Trustees thanks Mayor Nutter and City Council for their continued support of the college. And on behalf of our students, I want to thank you for providing them the opportunities to change their career paths and to change their lives. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
City Council President Clark, members of the council. I would just like to add to that list of renowned graduates, Desha Dyer, who you've just noted through recent newspaper accounts that she is now the entertainment or the public relations person for the White House. And I think the list goes on and on and on. We could give you a list of names of successful graduates, and I think that is the bottom line relative to what community college does. We're here today to request your support for our budget, which you have before you. That budget will allow us to expand our enrollment efforts, expand our markets, It will enable us to provide much-needed support to help students succeed and to graduate. It will help us to provide and create the infrastructure for workforce development, which we surely need, and it will also enable us to provide much-needed maintenance, repairs, and facility build-out. So the budget is a $3.4 million ask on top of what we received last year. This comes with no tuition increase. I think that's, a significant aspect of what we're asking for. As you may have noted, we have found ways to provide an expansion of scholarship opportunities for our students. So we're very serious about providing opportunity and access, and we think this budget will support our efforts to do that.
Thank you very much. A couple of quick questions. As you see behind us, we have our boards, and we've been promoting this conversation at each budget hearing to talk about those various aspects of what we think is important in this particular budget cycle. We are requesting that departments and other recipients of city funds talk about their role in dealing with those issues, the educational, the income inequality, and creating sustainable neighborhoods. If you can briefly kind of talk to me about your role, particularly as it relates to education, and I know of some of it because we've had conversations with the City of Philadelphia's public school system in ensuring that the opportunities for higher education is put before those students in those schools, and be it in technical, manufacturing, or college, traditional college. Can you just talk to me about the role that you're playing currently?
Sure. We are playing a primary role. I meet with Dr. Height on a monthly basis. We are expanding our efforts in dual enrollment, which is, as you know, an opportunity for students to begin accruing college-level credits while they're still in high school. We're extending that to include students who need some level of remediation relative to being college-ready, so that once they do get to our doors, they don't have to go through the vast levels of developmental education. We're in conversations with them about sharing some of their facilities specific to advanced manufacturing. I believe we're in the final throes of those conversations. We'll hopefully be able to use their facilities during the evening and weekends, which will allow us to expand our efforts in that area. As you may know, we are finishing out the last year of the federal tacit grant, which was designed to jumpstart our efforts in advanced manufacturing. We were quite successful. We were able to educate and to complete and to place beyond the goals that we set forth. So at this point, we're looking to leverage that in a way that allows us to bring those programs into the college in a more sustainable way. So it's critically important that we do work with the school systems. There absolutely has to be a synergy between the two sectors, and we're very much committed to doing that.
Thank you. I want to first thank you for allowing us to use the university tonight for the forum to talk about school-based family services program. We look toward your university, along with every other college in the municipality, to be a significant participant in that, bringing resources to the table. And I know you've already been doing that. You're still doing you're involved with the concurrent credit courses. I forget, what do we call it? Where a student in high school can get a college credit.
Right, that's the dual enrollment.
Dual enrollment,
we call it by different names, but it's essentially giving them an opportunity to acquire college credits while they're still in high school.
Okay.
So our goal is to expand that citywide. We think that that's an opportunity whose time has come. And,
Okay.
Students should and be able to take advantage of that, not just for educational reasons, but for also financial reasons as well.
Okay. And another one of the themes, and I'm speaking for myself right now, I assume some of the colleagues, if not all, feel the same way, is that every year we're asked to authorize school district's budget, and that's essentially all we get to do is to authorize taxes. And the money goes up to 400 North Broad, and we don't see it again. And don't really have a clear sense of the outcome in terms of the expenditures being targeted to things that actually work or things that actually can enhance the educational opportunity for that young person. This dual enrollment program is something that I actually like. I talked to Dr. Height, and I think it's a great program. And one of the conversations that we're having within this body is our ability to actually fund programs from the city's budget as opposed to just simply sending all the money up there. And how about we send money to programs and entities that actually provide services to young people and have it be done in a targeted way. So as an example, maybe if you say you want to take this dual enrollment program citywide, why don't we increase your budget so you can do just that directly to the city community college? You provide that service as opposed to us sending the money up to 400 North Broad and hope that they participate in that program. That's the mindset that people have, and if in fact, and I don't want to put you in an interesting place where you and Dr. Height will end up having a pretty testy phone call later. He says you're going after his money, but I got to ask this question: if if somehow we increase your budget by maybe more than you are asking for, and you target that money to be involved in dual enrollment or something else that actually works, what would be your position? Would you send the money back, or would you?
Maybe you need a no comment.
I'll just say the idea of dual enrollment works. And however way it's funded, I think I support that. I support the idea that the school system needs to be supported, and as a resident, fairly new, I keep abreast of what the issues are. Their problems ultimately become our problems because we have huge numbers of students that need remediation,
Right.
and that's as a result of the effects of their public education. Not all, because some students have been out of school for quite a while. So,
Right.
however way we can do it, I think it's an issue. And it is a practice that's being practiced across the country. Students across the country are able, in many instances, to graduate high school with an associate's degree. I eventually would like to get there.
Right.
But you start with dual enrollment. You start in a way that you mitigate whatever remedial needs they need in their junior and senior year, so that when they come to us, they can start at the college level. And I think we have the staff and the expertise to be able to do that. And in fact, in dual enrollment, if we're going to offer college-level credits, it has to be led by the college, because it's college credits. So our faculty and the guidelines that enable us to provide credentials and degrees have to be supervised by us. So hopefully that answers your
You've
question.
made that argument in a very diplomatic way. But I'm very serious personally. The frustration level in City Council has been here for some time. It's just, and particularly in later years, we just increased revenue. We sent $120 million last year of sales tax revenue that was targeted for pension support. And I have no idea where that money's going, in all honesty. Other than it's going to the school district. And, a lot of us would have liked to have seen some of that be targeted. And since you have a very specific program that we all believe works, there probably should be some conversation about funneling that money directly to you so you can provide that service that we know that will actually enhance the educational experience of those young people in the high school. All right, well, to be discussed. Thank you very much. At this time, Chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you, Lynette Brown-So, and your entire team for all that you do. We really appreciate it. Let me say we're grateful that the governor came to CCP in West Philly. We're hoping that means great things for us. We're hoping that means good things for West Philly, since so many other areas are being modernized and new programs. We're looking forward to great things in West Philadelphia. With regard to the partnerships you have with four-year institutions, is it with most of them? I know, like with Cheney University, you have a partnership, or is it certain universities?
We have
you do?
articulations with how many? 12, with 12 colleges and universities in the area. Our primary partner is Temple.
It's Temple, you said?
Primary partner is Temple University, right?
Well, that's nice, but no, that's great. That's a good thing. And we understand that 90% of the graduates are remaining in our city. That's very, very important. And Can you give us just a few of some of the job training? Do you have job training programs that lead directly into employment?
We do. We are in the last year of the Tacit Grant, which was a certificate-based program designed to lead students directly into employment. Our goal is to leverage the experience and the equipment that we've received through that to fold it into our credit program so that we will be able to continue to provide what they refer to as stackable credentials. A student starts with a certificate, and they can either go directly to work or they can stack on top of that credit towards a higher level degree. So right now, the success of the Tacit Grant, we were above the goal that we set out, which was set out 4 years ago. It was a $20 million grant that we received to spread out through the state. We had a significant portion of that. That is a successful program. Our Auto Tech program, as you know, the governor
Yes.
saw, is very successful. Our biggest challenge there is to keep students there because they're so talented once they've gone through a couple of the classes that we've had that they often find a job. So we really are pushing to try to get them to complete and to graduate, but that's a program. And we also hope to be able to leverage that program so that we can provide more continuing ed and certificate programs for folks that are already in the industry and need upgrading their skills, upgrading their skills. So our goal, specifically in the West Philadelphia area, is to expand Auto Tech. And then, of course, we have the health sciences. All of our health science programs are very successful in placing students into the field. If you've been to a dental hygienist in the last number of years, you probably had a CCP student care for you. So dental hygienists, digital imaging, our nursing program is very successful, and we do have computer technology programs that are entry-level programs as well.
And some of this, we know President Obama has been talking about supporting community colleges for career training as well. So I'm assuming that some of that comes from the feds as well.
Well, the Tacit Grant was a federal grant. That was a federal grant. There are more. There's a huge apprenticeship grant. We probably have missed the deadline on that, but we're working with some other entities with that. And this budget is predicated on building out our workforce development areas, workforce development and workforce readiness. That's a prime purpose for a lot of the dollars that we hope to be able to get through this year's budget.
Thank you, and let me say, you couldn't have a better person than Matt Burkheiser, so whenever you want to even think about what we need and want, all you have to do is look next to you and see Matt Burkheiser, because he's wonderful and does a great job as head of UCD as well as what he does for CCP, and we want to certainly give a personal thank you to him for him as well, in addition to doing job training. So he's a good person for us, for you to have and for us to have in West Philadelphia.
Thank you,
Great.
Councilman.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Thank you. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Is this your first opportunity we're sitting with members for a budget cycle?
Yes.
Okay. So first, questions regarding programmatic questions around the work that you're doing there at Community College, and I try to stay as familiar as I can with the interface and able assistance of Lynette Brown, who's always on the ground, trying to keep us informed and connected with the developments at community. So I want to acknowledge her and say thank you publicly for that. I appreciate it. To the obsolete program, you mentioned on page 1 of your testimony, quote, obsolete programs and business practices will be eliminated and high priority programs will be developed. So speak to a couple of examples of those that will be eliminated and why, and then on the flip side, high priority programs will be developed and what they are.
Every month we go through a process of analyzing and reviewing our programs. The last one that comes to mind was the youth, what is that, youth services? GIS is one example, but there was another one, one of the certificates for the youth services, Youth Works program. So the GIS, Geographical Information Systems program, is a program that just did not pan out the way that we thought it would. So we've dropped that program at this point. There was a certificate program under our Youth Works broader, it's a Youth Works program, but within that, there's a certificate program that we've dropped. And so every month, we review the programs that we have, and we continue to eliminate and/or suspend. Sometimes we just suspend them so that we could restructure the programs.
Sure. Pull the mic closer to you.
In terms of business practices, I have my business team here. We continuously look for ways to save dollars. We look at positions in a very careful way as they become vacant, and I think we've done a fairly good job in downsizing in areas that we don't have a continued need. So the business practices, you know, it's a pretty vast enterprise, and within the context of that, we can get you a list of the specific programs that we've either eliminated or downsized or scaled down in an effort to save money. But as a general practice, you know, we have a very efficient mindset as it relates to our business practices. And the second question, part of your question was?
What programs are you now going to
Specifically,
develop?
advanced manufacturing. We're looking
Advanced
Advanced
manufacturing?
manufacturing. That's a specific area of program growth that we hope to embark upon. There is a need, and you know, the term advanced manufacturing is a pretty broad term. It includes robotics, it includes electrical technicians, it includes chemical technology, so there's a variety of areas in there. We are in the process of searching for a VP to help us in that very specific area, very specialized area. I think it crosses some of the programs that we currently have in auto tech, specifically in the areas of sustainability and alternative energies.
Okay.
I think that's an area that we can build into, all of which require some level of investment.
Sure.
I think in our enrollment strategies, there are some programs that we can look to attract a broader sector of the international community. I do think that that's an area that I think we could leverage, being in Philadelphia and being surrounded by so many of the large institutions. I think that that's a source of revenue that we need to take better advantage of, and that's a programmatic area that I hope to be able to build on.
Is there some linkage with the mayor's? Councilman Bobby Heenan would be thrilled, I'm sure, to hear about the emphasis and focus on manufacturing program initiatives. Is there some linkage with the mayor's manufacturing task force?
Yes. In fact, he's going to, Michael Cooper, I believe that's his name. I've spoken to him about our efforts, having read all the reports. I've been in meetings with them. So there's a clear understanding of the direction that we need to go. We understand that, hopefully in the years down the future, that the processing or the distribution aspect of the Marcellus Shale will come to a reality, and we need to be prepared in terms of the manufacturing abilities of the potential workforce that will need to be trained in that area.
I do have a question related specifically to the Energy Hub, but before we get to that, President Clark has spoken consistently about how we need to do better as a city in connecting with the school district. So when talking about your term, enrollment strategies, what strategies have been explored to ensure that young people at Bach and other voc schools are linked to the new programs that you're putting in place?
We are very aggressively reaching out to the public school systems in a way that helps to create pathways, programmatic pathways, from junior, senior, actually probably earlier in high school through the community college into a four-year or out if they choose to do so.
So what does that mean? Does that mean you have a professional principally charged with working with the director of partnerships at the school district? Put that in tangible terms for me.
So very specifically, we're in the middle of a search for a vice president for workforce
Okay.
and economic innovation.
Okay.
We have a new, as of July 1, Vice President for Strategic Initiatives, whose job it will be to focus on those types of initiatives that have either at the very early stages or have been lingering for some time. We have been working and speaking and negotiating with the school system over the Ben Franklin School for about a year now. That not just for the purpose of the use of the facilities, but also for programmatic reasons. I've met with David, Voc Tech guy. No, David Kippett, thank you. Excuse me, 10 months, I'm still remembering people's names. David Kippett, who is the vocational technical
Professional at the
superintendent,
school
right, at the
district?
school district. Our approach is not to just focus on the facilities, but for the programmatic aspects of it, so that students at a very early age become interested in PLC, CNC, advanced manufacturing, robotics, and so on and so forth. We went to the workshop school a couple of weeks ago, Dr. Gay and I. Very innovative, very creative, progressive school that integrates the various technical areas and sciences, and we have had follow-ups with that with Dr. David Thomas, who's our Dean of Community Outreach. And that's in the West Philadelphia area. So we're building on that. But more importantly, again, my conversations with Dr. Height, we're of the same mind that we really need to create a relationship, a stronger relationship, a systematic relationship between the community college and the public schools. And we're both committed. We actually, Josie is here, we're actually scheduling a meeting with the senior teams from the community college and the school district to create a strategy with a work plan that enables the very types of things that you're talking about, so that it's much more comprehensive and it's, you know, really designed to be a systematic approach towards creating those relationships.
And so the bad news is that we've heard of the interest and the theory around wanting to make this happen for many years. And now we have two professionals in place, and you and Dr. Height, who want to get it right, but our children can't wait. So if you had to look through in a crystal ball to determine when something, a hard document is in place that then speaks to the execution of a plan, where will we be? Fall 2015, fall 2016, what would you speculate?
An actual hard document, I think that's something within the next quarter we could probably put together for you.
Okay.
We're putting this meeting together. You know, I know there's a lot of meetings in Philadelphia,
Sure.
but this is really designed to get all of the principal players around the table with a strategy for building this relationship between the two. There are a lot of parts. It's a very large
Indeed.
school district. And I think when you look at the numbers of students who come to Community College of Philadelphia, we really are the most natural choice for those students. You know, we just rolled out the scholarship, the 50th scholarship, which is designed to, you know, to encourage and to incentivize students who may have considered going to one of the other institutions to come to us. And so part of that is providing summer boot camps, if you will, for those students who haven't yet reached the college level requirement that we're asking, and we will enable them to do whatever remediation they will have to do, so that once the fall gets here, they're at the college level and they'll be able to take full advantage of that scholarship. That program, we have pieces to that program now. We need to expand that program so that it does go across the city. So that's happening this summer. So I would say in the next quarter, by September, the latest October, we'll be able to, I'm in part speaking for Dr. Height now, but we'll be able to give you, a broad scope picture of where we are, where we're going to go, and how we're going to get there, and how long it's going to take.
Okay. I have additional questions, Councilman. I'll wait for the next
There's
round.
nobody else teed up.
Okay, so now you've spoken to, thank you, alternative energies and the emerging urgency of making sure that our city is equipped with vocational programs and getting young people ready to move into this new world order of energy hubs. So with recent discussions about Philadelphia becoming a liquefied natural gas hub, and with our school district already exploring such partnership opportunities, what do you envision CCP doing with regards to developing vocational programs centered around jobs and training in this field? Because when you listen to the experts, it's a huge opportunity. It's not going to go away. And either we can get our young people ready, or we can miss the opportunity for all of what that means for those who want to work. So where is the university in gearing up and preparing for this new world order around?
Sure. So we've done some reorganization at the college. Part of that reorganization, first of all, I will be the first to advocate and to champion and to lead the way. But we have created a vice president, a senior level position, vice president for workforce and economic innovation.
Okay.
And we described it as such because, as you know, alternative energies and the
It's
types
here.
of things they're talking about is as a result of innovation.
Sure.
So that person's job and responsibility will be to partner with the businesses and industries, understand what's going on relative to state and federal regulation as it pertains to energies, understand the impact and the possibilities of the Marcellus Shell distribution hub that will roll out here, work and find opportunities on the shipping, in the shipping yard for the college, work with the school district. I firmly believe that it has to be more than workforce development, it has to be workforce readiness,
Yes.
which means you need to get these students at an
Yes.
earlier age. You need to attract them to the types of businesses and industries that they can be a part of. So it's a comprehensive approach. This person will help us identify the content areas. So again, workforce development is a big thing, but you may need something very specific to alternative energies, which is chemistry, biology, and physics, and so forth. There are very specific industry-based aspects to this whole thing
That's
that we're
right.
talking
That's what I'm
about.
learning as well.
Yes, so, this person's job will be, 100% 24/7
Focused on.
focused on that aspect of workforce innovation and development.
And I know that it works. We had hearings in here a couple of weeks ago, and I can't remember the topic issue. It may have been environment sustainability, where there were representatives here from Texas, and they spoke about how in Houston, or one of those towns down there, Houston, they have successfully linked up with the neighboring community college and figured out how to get young people engaged, given all of what was happening there. So they're ahead of us in many ways. But that affirmed for me that the opportunity is here now for Philadelphia, and we need to be smart about how we prepare our young people for that. So when do you anticipate this new hire?
We have, how many candidates? 10? 8?
We have 12 candidates that we're looking at now,
Right,
and 2 of them have been in so far. We have
right.
Oh, so that's going to be a minute. If you have 12 and you've seen 2. Having worked in higher ed and understanding the process, that's going to be a while.
Well, we want to get the right person.
For
I
sure.
think this person is somebody that has to be more than the traditional workforce development person, which I've worked a lot, where they work with just the WIBs, not to demean the WIBs, but they work with just the WIBs in sort of the local workforce environment. This really needs to be someone that understands, a much broader aspect of where we are regionally, statewide,
Yes.
and quite frankly, the nation,
Sure.
as it relates to workforce development, innovation, and readiness. So we will hire the right person, and we're going through the process now. The ads have run. We've had a number of candidates, and we've begun to narrow that down at this point. So that's where we are.
I failed to ask in advance. I'd like often to see the demographics of the work of the professional and ad hoc workforce at CCP, and I failed to ask that in advance. But I would, if you could submit later, exactly that. What are the demographics with regards to your faculty and staff at CCP as of this date? Okay, submit that to the president. Graduation success. And again, reviewing the testimony, your graduation rates are exploding, which is a wonderful thing. My question has to do with the Job Track Pennsylvania, which you cited on page 4 of your testimony. Could you talk about that a bit more? And are there plans to grow that particular program?
That was part of the tacit grant. So the
Tacit?
Tacit, trade adjustment,
Okay,
something.
Probably one of those
something-
government
yeah, it's a huge
alphabet soup.
acronym, right?
programs.
So that grant runs out in October. The grant dollars run out, and we're closing that grant out at this point. There are other grants around the state that we're able to tie into as a result of, the continuation of that, but this is an Obama administration initiative,
I
so it pretty
see.
much runs out. Our goal is to, as in any grant, you need to figure out ways to bring it into the college campus. So we have equipment there, we have expertise there. Part of it is this job track, which is it's run by the state, correct? It's a state run software
Initiative.
program, basically, right, that connects jobs with employers and potential employees. So we'll find ways to continue that. We're finding ways to continue that which worked. Those things that did not work will will not be funded. But specifically, the advanced manufacturing is something that has worked for us, and we plan to continue that as part of our continuing
Very
ed
good.
and workforce development initiatives.
Totally unrelated, just curious. Does CCP have a child care center?
We do. We partner, who do we partner with? I'm not even sure who the partner is. It's a contract service, yes,
I
we
see.
do.
Okay,
It's, if you come up 16th Street, it's the trailers, right before you get to the
Very
corner,
good.
in the middle of the block.
thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. President. I want to say a huge thank you, too, for CCP always being willing to host the African American Children's Book Fair. We know that that experience is huge, and every year CCP gives Vanessa Lewis Scumbody the venue where she can really draw in thousands of kids who want to read, who just want a free book.
Right.
So thank you for that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Doctor, real quick, before I turn it over to Councilman Nielsen, with respect to our earlier conversation about the dual enrollment, can you forward information on that, detailed information on the current program, how many participants, the cost associated with enacting that program per student, or however you project those costs with respect to your budget? And is that a separate line item in your internal budget?
We have their grants. Judy, do you know it's Dave Thompson? I think it's right. So depending on the school, it depends on how we get paid. In some instances, the parents pay for it. In some instances, you know, we're able to
Okay.
reduce the
Well, you could
cost
just-
far enough. Yeah,
just
so it's a
give me very-
multitude of things, yeah.
Okay, very detailed information on that. And lastly, if you don't answer it, if you can't answer this right now, if money was appropriated from the City Council of Philadelphia to spend it on that program, is it under your authority as the role you play at the school versus the board, that you would target that money specifically for that program, or would it go into your general fund budget? And would that be something
Yes,
that...
it would be much like any grant. I mean, it would be a separate from our operating budget, and we'd
And
be
there
able
could
to
be a
target it
commitment
for a specific
that
reason.
if that money came from City Council of Philadelphia and subsequently the mayor, that it would be targeted for that program and that program alone?
Yes.
All right. Okay. And one last thing, with respects to the energy issue that Councilwoman Reynolds Brown referenced, and I was told this a year or so ago about an opportunity to get revenues to provide training for Marcellus Shale. Dr., I don't think you were here, and it was a vote by the board to deny that money coming. Is that?
I don't,
And I got this from Governor Corbett's people. There was an opportunity for revenue to provide training for Marcellus Shale.
if I recall
Opportunity.
correctly, it wasn't a vote by the board. I think there was some angst among staff members, but nothing had ever come to a formal conclusion. I think we're, you know, as a board, as an organization, we're just, you know, as Dr. General said, we're very open to connecting to all kinds of opportunities in the new economy and to doing right by our students. And so we're open to discussions like that.
So it was not a board vote, but the staff essentially made a decision that they were not interested in that revenue.
I think there was concern expressed by all factions, kind of inside and outside the college. You know, much as there's public debate about various issues, it was not any kind of official or board level decision.
So are those people that showed whatever angst or internal concern, are they still there? Because we're talking about
I'm sorry.
this opportunity
Just to give you the
presenting
background,
itself.
it's my understanding it was a one-time scholarship offer for students for about $15,000, and apparently...
Per person?
No.
$15,000
Total.
scholarship for Marcellus Shell for the college.
I can't. Either you want to come up if you want.
it was a
Just
15...
state your name for the
Oh,
record.
Lynette Brown, so. It was a $15,000 scholarship from Marcella Shell for scholarships for students that are in energy programs. Just a one-time.
Okay.
That's it.
Why did we
One-time.
not accept that
One-time
opportunity?
scholarship from Marcella Shell for students who are interested in energy programs.
So why do we not accept that opportunity?
No, we do have that. We have
Did you
that.
take the money?
Yes, we did.
So what I've heard from the folks representing the governor's former governor, let me make clear, former governor,
Yes.
that's not accurate.
No, that's not accurate.
All right. Sure. So I'm going to ask them to give me that information.
I'm absolutely sure
They
that-
presented very detailed information on that process.
We didn't know about that at all. We had talked about Marcella Shell. I think there is some concern from our faculty. That's when the whole Marcella Shell issue started coming up. But there was never any detailed discussions about programs or services. The only thing was the Marcella Shell Coalition gave us $15,000 of scholarship.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Nielsen.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you for coming today. Just to follow up on the Councilwoman's question about the trade adjustment grants, that was a federal program, and that was for displaced workers that was put in effect when they were closing some of the plants around the Commonwealth. They threw that in there to try and help these people find jobs if their jobs went overseas. On April 6th, there's a major announcement about providing free college tuition to our some of our needier students. Can you explain that program to us, please?
So the 50th anniversary scholarship program will be for students who are Pell eligible, which by definition means they are needy students, financially needy students. They qualify by testing into our college level in reading and writing. We're giving them 1 semester leave for mathematics. And after their Pell dollars are exhausted, we will meet the gap between the Pell and the final cost of their tuition, which on average is about $450 per student per year. So the goal is to attract students, and they have to enroll full-time. They have to enroll full-time, and they have to adhere to a couple of other aspects. They have to see their advisor, their counselor, and they have to provide some kind of community service to either the college or their community. We are funding that through our foundation, through private dollars, and we are also, as an extra aspect to this, we see this as a very tangible things that potential donors could get by to support. So our goal right now is to raise $10 million to support this in perpetuity. We have the monies to support it for the next 3 years, and we'll review it. Hopefully we'll have the opportunity to expand it, but that's what it's about.
Thank you. In your testimony, you mentioned that the college lacks programs in areas of workforce development readiness. How are you going to?
We need to build in those areas. I won't
Okay.
say there's zero.
I'm just
We need
reading
to-
your testimony.
Okay.
That's what I wanted to make certain that I clearly understood, because it's my understanding that your involvement with Philadelphia Works puts you on the forefront of what our local businesses and community needs. So is it more of like not so much lacking that knowledge, but the readiness to get your hands around that new program, such as manufacturing? We're trying to do some manufacturing, and we recently learned that Northeast Augusta helicopter up in the Florida Northeast, right by your community college plant, is going to.
I didn't hear that last part.
Augusta Airport up in the Northeast is going to go through a big expansion because they just got a major project going on. Are you teaming up with any people like that for the manufacturing end of it to give our students the ability to learn manufacturing needs and those computer needs that are needed to actually build these helicopters? I mean, just something like that.
I've seen the article. I've not met, and I've talked to my staff about how we need to meet these folks and see what we can, where and how we can partner. But we have talked to a number of industry sectors, if you will, about what their needs are relative to the training that we can provide. I want to be clear, we do have some workforce readiness programs. We have Auto Tech, which is very successful. We have the Tacit Grant, which was quite successful. And we have a full complement of health science career-based programs, which are also very successful. My goal is to expand that in a way that's consistent with the needs. I think that we are not meeting the full needs of the city or the region relative to the workforce demand. And so part of what I hope to do, part of what I would expect this Vice President for Workforce and Economic Innovation to do is to further find out what those needs are and then parlay that information into programmatic areas that we can grow.
Now,
Where we can
on the council president's note, I would like to say, would that be something you'd be interested in expanding into our public high schools with a program? So maybe they can get a beginning taste if we budgeted money towards you to put in programs in our high schools to better prepare our high school students for the workplace, or expand even further and go to college after school. Like say the auto program that you spoke about. I mean, because we have high schools around the city with the training facilities right in there, and they've been constantly closing due to budget. If we fund that through you, do you think that's something you can give to our high school students? Something to better prepare and give them a brighter outlook on life instead of saying, hey, I'm done high school, I'm going to go work at McDonald's?
Again, I think the idea of us working collaboratively and creating pathways from the high school...
You like that idea or love it?
I like that idea. I don't want to get into a debate about the public school dollars versus ours. I think that's a great opportunity. I think that's a great idea that should be funded, however way it's funded. It will cost. There will be a need for investment. I continue to believe that the earlier we can attract students to these jobs and to these fields, the more likely we will be in being able to enroll them into these positions. The manufacturing field is not your mom and pop's factories anymore, and a lot of the parents still see it as that. So when their kids are making choices in the 8th grade about what kind of high school program they're going to go into, they still have this notion of the very pure traditional liberal arts route towards success. When the fact is you need to be very STEM savvy to go into any entry-level job in advanced manufacturing. Most of it has aspects of robotics. Auto tech is a very sophisticated field right now. And so I think the partnership has to be not just with the school systems, but also with the business and industries in the form of cooperative education, providing students an opportunity to shadow and to see some of these chances, these opportunities, which are very attractive or could be very attractive to students. And so I think we have to figure out a way to create that pathway from roughly the 9th grade, 8th grade going into the 9th grade and all the way through. And that requires support. It requires a strong partnership between the community college and the public school sector. And however way we support it, I would love to have the dollars, but again,
As the
I don't want
last
to get
part,
into that political debate.
the last part of my question, my statement is the part of your request should be that the mayor puts you on his manufacturing task force. You might want to add that in your record. This way you can be at that table with all these manufacturers and what they're doing. Councilman Hume has spearheaded it for City Council here, and I would just suggest that I know Lynette has a great relationships with most of us at the table here, that maybe they can get you to that table and make certain that you're part of that so we can grow together. And I have nothing further, and thank you for coming today. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman. I like your thinking. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Tasker.
I think that's a good idea. He should be at the table. So should Dr. Height. That's coming out of the Northeast. That's a pretty decent idea. I just want to say thank you very much, and for your the college, you and the college's support of the site at Godfrey Avenue, which is in the 9th Councilmanic District. And I thank you for allowing my community organizations to be able to meet there we don't have that many facilities where they can meet. So we appreciate that cooperation, and I wish you well in your tenure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you very much, Council President. Good morning. Good morning. Good to see you. I have a similar question. I guess that's our thought of the day, huh? So we did hold some hearings in City Council and around vocational career, and in particular, having representatives from Germany, Switzerland, and Austria around VET, which is their program in Europe, which has been very successful. It's a selective program, public school. They have a heavy math and science computer program for 2 years, and then in the next 2 years, the student goes to work at companies like Mercedes-Benz or Boeing or something like that, and they will have 3 days in the workforce where they're paid, and 2 days in the classroom, continuing with the theoretical knowledge and other things. When they graduate, they get 2 degrees. One is their high school degree, and they get a degree for their specific profession, which then makes them eligible to get a job anywhere in Europe. And they're in high demand, so if they don't end up working at, for example, a Boeing, they're easily picked up by the hiring rate is quite good, the salary is very good, things like that. So the reason I'm asking you is just kind of not theoretical. I actually wrote a bill and a governance change for the School District of Philadelphia, including a elevation of vocational career and including a VET aspect to it. In speaking with the school district folks and some other things, and with Harrisburg, the issue of how a VET type program could actually be implemented in Philadelphia, because we're not Europe. The issue arises that legislatively, I suppose, in Harrisburg, and then in Philadelphia, and then with community college, the mechanisms of basically tying a VET program into a 3-year high school degree, 3 years of high school with 2 years in community college, so that you do, instead of 4 years of high school, 5 years, and you end up with a 2-year certificate, 2-year, associate's degree in the profession with actual work hours. The funding not being a grant from the corporation, the funding being, the salary paid to the students. They're paid prevailing wages, and a grant through the government. Because I'm reading your part about obsolete programs being done away with, high priority programs. With the cost of college and just the whole change in the economy, it seems that community colleges are the institution that that have probably the widest and largest potential to actually prepare our young people for jobs in today's industry. Could you give me your thoughts? Do you know things about this? What are your thoughts on those type of things?
In general, what you've described is an early college program approach. I'm not familiar with that one, but I know IBM has a similar type of program in the States. I believe Chicago, whereby students within 5 years, in some instances, there's a program between Bard College and LaGuardia College in New York where it's actually 4 years. Students are able to do it in 4 years.
I actually visited Pathways High School in Brooklyn, and that is the IBM program.
Okay.
That has had tremendously good results.
Right.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to say what a fantastic program. They
Right.
draw from the neighborhood, mostly African American kids
Right.
from the neighborhood, heavy math. They do fantastic in the academics. You know, they're tied in. IBM actually doesn't hire them. That's not what they do. I think that's a misreport. But IBM funds and supports the school and offers the opportunity for jobs, but they're actually not tied in. And so, you know, the thing that I find attractive about this is telling young people who oftentimes are struggling to make the right decision that instead of 4 years of high school and a gap and then a decision, that you are, as a freshman, going into a 5-year program, that you end up with a 2-year degree, experience in the workforce that keeps them interested and focused on their learning and getting real-life experience, meeting, you know, top-line managers and producing top-line stuff and getting paid, which a lot of times is very attractive for young people to continue their education. And what is the role of community college in this process of transforming our education and training here in the city of Philadelphia?
So you're right. I mean, my belief is community colleges have never been in a greater spotlight at this point because of the needs of the nation and the economy and so forth. I think we can play the role of being the nexus between public schools, higher, you know, the four-year institutions and the business and industries because of the nature of what we do. We have talked about it, again, with Dr. Height, the notion of an early college. We've talked with some funders about supporting this, but to answer your question, I believe fundamentally the model of K-12 plus 2 plus 4, K-12 plus 4 has to change. It has changed in Europe. You know, the Bologna model basically does exactly that. And I think we need to aggressively pursue this, not just with the public schools and the community colleges, but with the businesses, public officials. Everyone needs to really play a part because it's a vast undertaking. You need to be able to find ways to attract students earlier on, to keep them attracted. So I think that includes summer programs, summer work programs. You need to find ways to develop a cooperative ed, so part of the day the student is spending their time in one of the businesses and or industries. And I think I think money, wage or salary for working should be part of it. But the key is getting them interested in the field. The secondary key is getting them interested in the math and sciences, which too often, especially in minority communities, is a big challenge. So I think there are areas of interest that include math and science, like robotics, that you can, by enabling them to see math and science in action, you know, the practice of it as opposed to the sort of abstract theoretical notions of it at an earlier age, learning to do by doing, that you can expand the pool. You're not going to get everybody, but you can expand the pool, and ultimately, you know, 5 years is a short amount of time. You can create a fairly sizable workforce in a very quick time. But it does take the assistance of everybody involved and a concerted, coordinated effort. You know, that's the other thing, because there's so many disparate parts. It does take a coordinated effort so that everyone's moving in the same direction.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you. Thank you, Council President.
Good, Councilman. Good. All right. Okay, thank you. There's no one else teed up. I want to thank you very much for your testimony, and we will await the information on the dual enrollment courses.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much, and keep up the good work. Good morning. Thank
Good
you.
morning.
Next up, we will have procurement. Please proceed.
Good morning, Council President Clark and members of City Council. I am Mary Stick, Commissioner of the Procurement Department. I'm here to present for your consideration the Procurement Department's fiscal year 2016 budget request. With me today is Deputy Commissioner Trevor Day. The department is requesting a total appropriation for all funds of $4,915,000, of which $4,837,000 is in the general fund. The proposed FY16 general fund allocation represents an increase of $44,000 over the FY15 estimated obligations, which represents the addition of a revenue-generating full-time position in our Special Services Unit for surplus disposal. $2,194,000, which amounts to 45% of the total general fund budget requests, represents citywide charter-mandated advertising expenses. As many of you are aware, Commissioner Ortman retired at the end of November 2014, and I became commissioner at that time. The department continues to innovate the way it conducts business and streamlines its operations. To bolster this effort, we are planning to solicit a front-end technology solution for system modernization, and we have ramped up our focus on staff training and professional development. We recently sent 13 of the department's technicians to a 3-day training seminar to obtain credits towards public procurement buyer certification through NIGP, the Institute for Public Purchasing. While we still maintain several retirement eligible employees, the department has successfully hired and trained 13 new employees over an 18-month period who replaced departing employees, amounting to 28% of our 52 budgeted positions. As noted in our written testimony, the Procurement Department has a diverse staff, with 51.1% identifying as Black or African American, 40% Caucasian, 4.4% Hispanic, 2.2% Asian, and 2.2% classified as other. Overall, 73% are women and 26% are men. The Procurement Department continues to foster contracting opportunities for local business entities, which are known as LBEs, and OEO certified vendors. In 2014, 53% of the total procurement contractor dollar amount was awarded to LBEs. Our department has engaged various stakeholders, including vendors, professional organizations, and fellow city agencies in an effort to solicit ideas and initiatives to encourage increased participation. The department also plans to work more collaboratively with city departments as they develop contracting opportunities to improve supplier diversity. In FY14, the Service Supply and Equipment Division issued 157 bids, resulting in 257 contract awards, totaling just over $74 million. Also in FY14, 945 small order purchases, which are under $32,000, were processed, totaling over $6.9 million. Currently, there are 44 active cooperative contracts with estimated contract value amounts of approximately $49 million and estimated cost savings of over $3.3 million annually. The Public Works Division processed 145 bids and awarded 112 contracts worth almost $277 million. Public Works also managed 21 concession opportunities that have resulted in 75 contracts on behalf of various city departments. Additionally, in FY14, the Special Services Unit collected close to $534,000 in revenue from the sale and scrap of obsolete or unserviceable property on behalf of various city departments. The department itself awarded $2,602 in contracts in FY14. Mr. President, this concludes my testimony. Should any council member wish to engage in further discussion or have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them or meet with them at their convenience.
Thank you very much, Ms. Stitt. Actually had a significant number of questions prepared for you about municipal advertising, but I realized you no longer were in that role, so I had to scrap that. But
well, I would still be happy to answer if you need it.
I know you would. I know you would. I had a couple of quick ones. I don't know the term that's used, the formal term in terms of, I guess, bulk purchasing or piggybacking on procurement with other agencies and departments across the state. What role do we play? Do we piggyback on, say, for instance, procurement on the state level or other institutions?
Yes, we do. There are many of the term is piggybacking or cooperative contracts, utilizing contracts from other agencies or from the state. These contracts do have to be solicited through a similar process to the city. They have to not have any impact on our OEO participation rates, and the total cost needs to be below if we had solicited directly. In the reverse, there are agencies that can utilize our contracts also.
So traditionally, as lay people, when we go to the store and you purchase more of whatever it is, you get a better price. The assumption is that the larger the pool of purchasing power, the lower the price would be, and sometimes put us, well, I guess every time, put us in a much better position. Do we have a similar arrangement with the Philadelphia School District?
With the school district, there have been times when they've utilized our contracts. We have not utilized theirs, I believe. We only utilize cooperative contracts that are approved to make sure that the total cost is below if we had done the direct purchase ourselves. Because sometimes we would get a better cost with the purchasing power of the city itself. But yes, the school district has used some of our contracts.
Okay, are we limited in terms of the opportunity to piggyback with state lines, or are we restrained within the state of Pennsylvania, or could we enter into some arrangement with state of New Jersey or municipalities of the state? We cannot?
No, we don't have any limitations.
No limitation.
As long as we meet those three requirements, total cost is lower, they solicit it in a similar fashion, and there's no negative impact to OEO participation. So
Okay.
as long as that happens, it can be a cooperative that's in California. And cooperatives are usually municipalities from different states. And they come together, exactly what you're saying, to bring their buying power, make it stronger, and get a lower price.
Okay. One question. With respects to advertisement,
Yes.
not municipal, but contracts, I guess what I want to say is contracts with media, and we're required by law to have certain relationships with a number of papers in terms of us advertising sheriff sales and all the other aspects of what we do, procurement, all those other things. Do we have, as it relates to OEO, and do we have those similar requirements on those type of contracts with respects to newspapers and other media outlets that we advertise in?
When it comes to the advertising that goes through the procurement department, we are guided by the law, which is mandated advertising, which says that we have to advertise in one of the top 3 circulating
Correct.
newspapers. And the one that we choose is actually the Philadelphia Tribune because of cost savings with the Tribune. We don't put it out to bid. We don't go with the lowest responsible bidder, or through an RFP process, which is a different weighted process of a competitive opportunity.
Is that only with what you're telling me, let me make sure I understand what you just said. So we're required, actually it's 2, because the legal intelligencer, I think by state law, we have to do that plus one
Yes.
other. So you're saying that all of our advertisement as it relates to all aspects of what we do is through the Tribune?
Go ahead, Trevor.
So, hi, I'm Trevor Day, Deputy Procurement Commissioner. So advertising, I mean, there's different requirements in the charter or code for different items. So, you know, I don't necessarily think we could go through today all the specific requirements, but generally, yes, there are requirements to advertise in the legal intelligencer. So when we're required to do that, we do that. Otherwise, if there are mandated advertising, typically what the procurement department does is we do an evaluation on an annual or semi-annual basis, ensuring that we're looking at the 3 top circulating newspapers in Philadelphia, which typically doesn't change. And then we go with the lowest cost provider of those 3.
And my question is, Is there any requirements as it relates to participation goals for those contracts?
There's not.
Is there a reason why there's not?
I don't know for sure, but I would think because it doesn't go through the regular bidding process. But if that's something you're interested in, we could sit down and certainly talk.
Just asking. I mean, you know I knew the answer, but had to put it on the record.
No problem.
All right. I'd like to talk to you about
Yeah,
that.
sure, of course.
Thank you. Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning.
I just have one question, actually generated by my staff. So, just curiosity. We made a request for public information. It's a list of Public Works contracted vendors, and that was in July. And to date, we have not received that information. My understanding was there was full cooperation from your office. That's not the issue. The issue appears to be that there's some kind of antiquated software, or there's some difficulty collecting this. Could you explain that? It's so hard to understand because it's, we're approaching a year.
Yes.
Yes.
So I am aware of the request. The staff did update me on your request when I became commissioner, and they have been able to gather a good amount of that information. We actually wanted to get in touch with your office to see if we could sit down and talk about it, make sure we're gathering exactly what you need, and kind of work through it. When it comes to antiquated software, yes, the procurement department, does have a paper intensive, and some of our software is quite old, but we work, as best we can with what we are given. We have been allocated funds to put, as I said in my testimony, we have been allocated funds to put a front-end modernization system into place. That RFP should be released within the next 30 days. And that will help us streamline and innovate and probably respond to requests like that a lot easier in the future.
Okay, let me tell you where this is generated from. What happens is, I believe it's public information, who's got a contract, and then different constituents, small business people, they want to approach the general contractor to try to solicit or offer services to be a subcontractor. So they're too small to actually bid on the project, but they want to have the opportunity to reach out to businesses have the contracts. And so we're trying to make that available, particularly to businesses that really are unfamiliar with the procurement process. They don't want to be involved in that. They just want to know that they think that somebody's doing something and they think they could be a subcontractor. So if I understand that it is taking an enormous amount of, person hours, because there's some kind of big box of paperwork, but it's, I don't think it's like a super hurry, but, the sooner the better, just because I think the public would like to know, and I can distribute it out to, different communities and different languages and things like that, just so that they know who to approach.
No problem at all.
Okay, thank you
We
very
can
much.
help in another way.
Yes.
Speaking to, having meetings with any of them or coming to any business meetings that you may have to help people through the process, please just let our office know.
Well, I will write that down and we'll start getting dates.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
I have a comment on that too. Recently, we have posted all of our contract data on open data. So, that's another forum, and we can, sit down with you and point, where that is, how that, where you can read it, all the information that, exists. And then in terms of Public Works, pretty much 100% of our projects have mandatory pre-bid meetings. And so any vendor that is interested, if they go to our website, they look at the opportunities, I would encourage them to go and go to those mandatory pre-bid meetings. That's where you're going to find the primes that are going to bid the jobs and make those relationships before the jobs are even awarded.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome, Councilman.
Good, Councilman. Thank you, sir. Looks like there are no additional questions. I want to thank you very much for your testimony. You should probably get out of here as soon as you can.
Well, thank you.
All right? Thank you.
Yeah, I want yours. No, they're right here. Yeah. This is Jersey now. You look like you're shrinking. Yeah, can you get me a glass because with my sodas at some point. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Oh, wait, still morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Please proceed.
Good morning, President Clark and members of City Council. My name is Albert DiTilio, and I am the city's Director of Human Resources. I am here today to present testimony in support of our department's fiscal year 2016 operating budget. With me today in the audience is the Civil Service Commission. At the table is Deputy Director Michael McAnally and Deputy Director James Statari. Other members of my executive team are also in the audience. You have my written testimony, so I will limit my remarks and be available for any questions that you may have. The mission of the Office of Human Resources, which is also known as the Personnel Department or OHR, is to attract, select, and retain a qualified, diverse, and effective workforce supporting the goals of the city. We accomplish our core mission by administering the civil service system, classifying and determining compensation rates for all civil service positions, developing and administering examinations, establishing eligible lists used for both the hire and promotion of individuals, and ensuring compliance at all times with the Home Rule Charter and the civil service regulations. We also manage and administer a competitive yet cost-effective benefit program for our non-represented employees. Our FY16 proposed general fund budget of $6.4 million, $6,433,623 to be precise, represents an increase of $162,000 from our FY estimated obligations. This is due mainly to promotional testing for the police department being on cycle. Promotional exams are typically administered every other year, and the cost of the oral examination administration therefore fluctuates with it, and we happen to be on this year for the police promotions. The other changes result from salary increases mandated by the collective bargaining agreements of our represented employees and a one-time terminal leave payment for a retiring employee. You have expressed an interest in the demographic makeup and language skills of our workforce. Approximately 61% of OHR employees are women and 75% are non-white. My senior team is composed of 59% women and 47% non-white employees. The Office of Human Resources currently has 11 employees fluent in 11 different languages other than English. We are committed to supporting the administration's minority, women, and disabled-owned businesses participation goals in the city. I'm pleased to report that we anticipate that the participation rate this year will increase from 12% to approximately 22%. This concludes my prepared testimony, and I and my staff are happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much. Just have a couple of questions myself. Are you the primary department that works on recruitment for police officers, or does the police department itself work on recruitment?
We're decentralized, so the police department is responsible for recruitment. Our involvement in the police hire process is that we post the examinations on a quarterly basis. We accept and process the applications, and then we create an eligible list through a training and experience evaluation. Once we do that, we certify the list out to the police department, and they go through the post-exam hurdles that are mainly state mandated. But the recruitment piece is handled by the police department.
And do they also determine the standards for those applicants?
So for the most part, those standards are developed by the state. So there's standards for the agility test, for example, that are state mandated. The background investigation, I believe they have some discretion on that. The reading level is mandated by the state. You have to pass a psychological evaluation that's mandated by the state. You also have to pass, in order to be a police officer recruit, a physical examination. The Office of Human Resources does do the physical examination, but that's the only other piece that we take
So
part in.
essentially, the standards for most things are done by the police or required by the state, and your role is limited with respect to that. And the reason I'm asking these questions is because the police were here earlier, and there was some questions about the challenges associated with recruiting candidates for police officer. So I wanted to know what role you guys played.
At one point, we were responsible for all phases of testing, and probably in 2008 or 2009, we met with the police department and determined that they were better resourced and better capable of handling those duties. So we've shifted much of that responsibility to the police department.
Interesting. So that leads me to another question then. When your department was responsible for most of the recruiting process, was there a more challenging process as it relates to being able to get recruits that reflected the city of Philadelphia, the demographics of the city of Philadelphia? Because that seems to be an issue now.
The training and experience prerequisites were different back when we handled the recruitment entirely. At that point in time, we only required a 12th grade education. Now the police department requires either 2 years of military service or 2 years of college. There's some other options if you come in through the police cadet program. So the standards are higher.
Right.
And I believe that has made their recruitment more difficult because, as Commissioner Ramsey indicated during his budget testimony, his own internal standards are probably higher as well.
Right.
It's a very important job. Police officers have the power to deprive people of liberty. So I think, I agree with the Commissioner in that we want the best police officers.
Right.
And, we will help them out in any way possible. The other thing, though, that has been positive is that since 2008, we went with an online application system.
so that now people can apply from all over the world. So if you have someone who's in a military stationed in Korea or Germany or Afghanistan, and they wish to apply to be a Philadelphia police officer because their time of enrollment is coming to an end, they can do so. And also that we're now announcing these exams on a quarterly basis. We get about 1,500 qualified applications every quarter.
Between 1,000 and 1,500 qualified applicants every quarter.
Right. All right. Okay. All right. Well, we had most of these questions to the police department. With respect to the other departments in the city of Philadelphia, do you have the primary responsibility for recruitment or setting standards or all the other aspects of employees?
So we do establish through the Civil Service Commission the training and experience requirements for every position, and we process every application that comes through the door. We don't have a recruitment branch in the Office of Human Resources. We haven't had one in over a decade. So departments who wish to do recruitment for hard-to-fill positions, we'll work with them on that, but it's their responsibility to fund and handle that. We'll provide guidance on how we think they should best recruit. Most of our positions are not hard to fill. We have very few positions that are hard to fill. And we've had years where we've had over 90,000 applications.
Right.
We do have some difficulty with labor and trades positions, some entry-level engineering and accounting positions. But most of the 1,000 job positions in the civil service, we don't have a difficulty in just posting our applications, posting our notices, and having people apply. What we would like to do in the future is create a system so that people can tell us when they're interested in certain titles, and when those titles become open for application, we can then notify them. Right now, we lack the technology to do that, but we've been working with our vendor to develop that capability.
Thank you. Thank you. There appears to be no questions. So again, thank you very much for your testimony, and get out of here as soon as you can.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good job. Sorry, Mike.
No, you know what? That's going also here. We'll tee it up, man. You know? Stephanie? How you doing? Good to see you. Good, good, good. Yeah.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Could you state your names for the record, also your department and title, and we'll get started.
Good afternoon. My name is Christopher Kochi, Fleet Manager. Sitting on my left is Mr. Joseph Rosati, Deputy Manager for Operations, and sitting on my right is Dr. Kay Wilson, Deputy Fleet Manager for Administration. Thank you for the opportunity to present testimony in support of the FY16 operating budget request for the Office of Fleet Management. The Office of Fleet Management's FY16 general fund budget request is $61.58 million, which includes $10.47 million for the purchase of new vehicles and equipment. In FY16, operating budget requests includes $16.54 million in Class 100, $9.6 million in Class 200, and $35.42 million in Classes 3 and 400. FY16 general fund budget request is $772,000 more than FY15 estimated obligations. Class 100 funding has decreased by $227,000. This is due to the elimination of non-reoccurring employee bonuses and additional obligations for salary increments and longevity. Class 300 funding has decreased by $2 million in fuel costs from FY15 projection due to savings from a fuel hedging program. Class 400 funding has increased by $3 million to replace aged vehicles. The Office of Fleet Management's strategy is to replace aged and inefficient vehicles and equipment with technologically advanced and more fuel-efficient options. Capitalization of vehicles and equipment costing more than $100,000 is an accomplishment which enabled Fleet to purchase medic units, fire apparatus, compactors, and bucket trucks with capital funding. In FY16 through capital and operating budget, the vehicle acquisition budget has increased to $25.4 million. This funding will enable Fleet to replace $7 million worth of specialty vehicles for the fire department, $7 million worth of compactors for the streets department. Fleet also intends to spend $7 million for the police department to replace radio patrol cars and aged unmarked vehicles. In FY15, with the help of the Office of Innovation and Technology, the Office of Fleet Management acquired an industry-standard asset management system. This will help us to carry out Fleet's operations more efficiently and effectively. This will also enable Fleet to integrate the asset management software with recently upgraded fuel dispensing system software, which will provide real-time fuel dispensing data and operational costs to the city's fleet. This concludes my testimony. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Page 1 of your testimony states that your FY16 general fund request for Class 300/400 includes $1 million for increased vehicle purchasing funding. Could you detail what vehicles will be purchased with this expenditure?
We intend to purchase a variety of vehicles, in particular police unmarked cars.
Okay. Are there any, the streets department has sort of been under siege with the big trucks the last 2 years in the winter, and even now, people are getting a lot of good communication from the streets department. Keep your trash out there. We got a lot of, a lot of trucks getting serviced, and just be patient. And I think it's worked very well. Their communication's going out great, but it does point out the wear and tear on those vehicles with the snow and everything. Is there anything built in here to deal with that? Built into the budget?
Yes, sir, there is. On the capital side for this year, we intend to purchase 30 compactors.
That's on the capital, okay.
They're on order, and next year we intend to purchase 45.
Okay.
We're in the process of trying to rent some compactors right now to alleviate the situation.
Gotcha. Okay, well, that's great. Page 2 of the testimony shows 24 unfilled positions that were budgeted. FY15 that were budgeted for. Could you detail the plans to fill these positions?
Yes, we actually have a list right now of technicians. There are 10 that we intend to onboard next week. There's a test being given Monday. We hope to have another list of technicians.
Okay. Page 3 of the testimony states that OFM reinstated the high school internship program to promote automotive trade careers. Could you detail the current enrollment numbers?
Currently, we have 9 interns on board, and we intend to bring on 3 or 4 more this coming up summer.
How are the students selected for the program?
They're selected through the school district of Philadelphia. They have certain criteria, and they give us their resumes, and we interview the students.
Okay, but you ultimately make the decision.
That's correct.
It's your ultimate decision. And you said the enrollment will be what for next year with the...
3 to 4 additional.
Okay. Page 20 of the budget details show that approximately $2.57 million is expected to be saved in fuel and gasoline in FY16. Have all of these funds been repurposed for the purchase of new vehicles?
$2 million.
$2 million of it?
Yes.
Okay. How about the rest?
Parts and materials.
Okay, so one way or the other, it's going towards vehicles. Last year, on page 5 of your testimony, stated that OFM was exploring cleaner alternative fuels such as propane and CNG, compressed natural gas, as well as plug-in electric PEV and gasoline hybrid technology to offset carbon emissions from motor vehicles. What was the result of the exploration of CNG and gasoline hybrid technology?
Compressed natural gas continues to be an issue with regards to infrastructure. The infrastructure just isn't in place to support this at the time. The biggest drawback to it is we don't have a facility in which to repair these vehicles. The other drawback is a fuel station. We've been working with PGW on trying to get a fuel or gas to some of our sanitation depots and one of our water department depots, and we are going to continue to explore it. But prior to doing that, we have to have the buildings upgraded to allow for gaseous fuel repair vehicles. Right now, they don't meet that building code.
While the investment into these alternative fuel options may require substantial initial investment, have cost-benefit studies been performed into potential savings on fuel and maintenance costs, for example, in the upcoming fiscal years?
We have done cost-benefit analysis, and from our review of the compressed natural gas alternative, compressed natural gas pretty much mirrors the prices of crude and fuels. So as the price of crude goes up, the price of fuels goes up, so goes the price of natural gas. Our return on our investment for those particular type of trucks would be roughly a 15-year return on investment. So we have done the cost-benefit analysis. We were looking at it more from a domestic, cleaner fuel as opposed to a cost-benefit.
Okay, more policy than the dollars.
That's correct, sir.
Okay. And so you working with public property or on the stations, because if you on the repair stations, because if you don't have the ability to repair the vehicles, it doesn't matter what you and the gas works.
We have a proposal with capital funding. We were going to do the upgrades with capital funding.
So it's an upgrade of existing facilities, not going out and...
It would be an upgrade to the existing facilities because we don't have any new facilities planned.
Okay.
So it would have to be an upgrade to existing buildings that we have.
Okay. Chair, I would like to recognize Councilwoman Janie Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We only wanted to say thank you for all the good service we get, and that's real important to people like me who don't drive so well. So we always appreciate the support.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. I usually save those remarks for when I'm down there in my usual seat, but I echo that. Believe me, fleet management has come a long way and has been doing great for years and just keeps getting better, and I want to congratulate you for that.
Thank you.
Are there no other questions? Councilwoman Blackwell, that's it, right?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Any other witnesses on fleet management? Okay. And where's my little script? Okay, the committee will stand in recess until Tuesday, April 28th, 2015 at 10 a.m., at which time we will reconvene in room 400, City Hall. Thank you.